Hey guys, it's Brian here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I just want to quickly give an introduction if you are new to my channel. Hi, like I said, my name is Brianna. I make bookish content, but also Disney related content. When you guys are seeing this video, I don't really have a whole lot of Disney content up yet, but it is something I'm very passionate about and something I want to chat about as well, so you guys will see more Disney content from me in the future. So I have a really fun video for you guys today. I'm going to be doing the books that kind of jump-started my love for reading. I recently saw Cheyenne from That Tall Book Girl do this post, and I was like, you know what, that's actually a really good idea to make a video on. I've done a Bookstagram post, which is in a whole lot more detail, so if you guys want to go check that out, please go follow me on Bookstagram, because that's where you're going to see the most bookish news from me, because that is the platform I've consistently stayed on for almost 10 years now, and I love it. If you're a returning subscriber, you're probably like, Brianna, your hair is pink. I know. I decided that it was time for a big change, and I decided to make my hair pink because I have never been able to do it. I was recently in a profession. Again, if you don't know this about me, I was a teacher, but unfortunately I did leave. I now am a full-time social media manager for indie romance authors. So I was like, you know what? Let's try it out. Let's see how I rock the pink hair, and I'm 100% a fan. We'll see if it's something I upkeep, because I know colored hair is obviously a lot to keep up with, so we'll see. Also, another side note, I'm sorry if the lighting looks a little off. I was like, I've got to film a video just to have more to come. Texas has a mind of its own. If you didn't know, I live in Texas, and it's currently about to storm. It's literally, I don't even think, it's barely 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it looks like it's pitch black outside. We're about to get a storm, and I was like, I should probably film this now on my lunch break before like these storms roll in and there's a possibility I could lose internet. Like, let's just get it done. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about all the books that have made me the reader I am today. I gotta go with the most obvious, which I feel like almost every single person who's a reader nowadays has read Twilight. Sorry, there's a glare. This is like my special edition box that I have. I have the original like box set or whatever. It's still literally in the box, and I just try not to get those out because it's such a pain to put them back in there and whatever. But anyway, y'all, like, come on. This is what kickstarted my love for reading. I will say, after my kind of like vampire obsession, which I'll get into those in just a second. Once those, like that fad, like the obsession and like the excitement about it kind of wore off, because I started reading this, I think these came out my freshman year of high school. Whatever 08 was. I think that was my freshman year. I just know obviously it was high school. I went with a girlfriend to go see the movies because it had been out for like a couple weeks, and I was like, oh my god, like there's books, like sold. So I literally binged them. Then I started going to the midnight releases, rereading them, like obsessed. I still am to this day. Like you could not convince me otherwise that Twilight is not the best thing ever. So literally would not be a reader without Twilight. Again, not a surprise because your girl is a Edward fan. Duh. A lot of these are going to be vampire books naturally, because that's what I was craving. I was an Edward fan. Like, I'm sorry. So another one of my all-time favorite, like if it wasn't for Twilight, it would be Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. Like, I go hard for this series. I reread it during the start of the, you know, the thing 3 years ago, which is insane. I was desperate for something to like just make me happy, because we all know we don't need to reminisce about that time. Okay. I did a reread because I literally haven't read these since high school, and I was like, my teenage heart is literally living. Dimitri, again, if it wasn't for Edward and then another husband I'm going to talk about in a second, like a little bit later, Dimitri would be it. Like, my heart, oh my god, like these two series are like holy grail, obsessed. Next one is, I don't consider it vampires, so let me preface that by saying this one's not really vampires. It's more so just like the immortal being. Like, they're not vampires, but they're still immortal. So it's literally called the Immortal series, I think, right? Immortal series by Alison Noel. Goodness gracious. I got to meet her back in like 2015, and I was like just fangirling, because this is one of those series. I don't know if I would enjoy it that much as an adult, but someday I would really like to reread this and kind of like get those feelings back of how I felt during the series. I really don't remember a whole lot about it. I just remember there was like portals and stuff. Again, I don't really remember. I don't even remember who the love interest is, but I remember I loved him. Another one of my favorites of this series, I literally only have one book left to finish, and I never did. So at this point, because it's been so long since I've, you know, started the series and finished the last book, like second to last book, I would have to reread to know what's going on. But it's the House of Night series by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. The first book is marked. Oh my god. This series is like, I think there's 13 books if I'm not mistaken. Obsessed. I think it was it Stark? There's so many different love interests that the heroine has throughout this entire series. And I think it's Stark. I know I went back and forth. Like, I would basically follow along with her because I was so impressionable as a teenager. And, you know, you just swoon over everybody. But I think it was, like, Stark that was, like, my end game. I can't remember, but oh my god, this series is so insane. I remember book 3. That one particular scene, we'll never get over it. There's a song that's like connected to it, Defying Gravity. Anytime I hear that song, I immediately think of that scene in book 3. If you've read the series, and you probably know what I'm talking about, it will literally forever be scarred and like inputted in my brain. Like, I was sobbing. I don't even want to give too much away because then I feel like it'll spoil it. I can't even like give you a detail because then it's going to be very obvious, because when you read the series, if you've read them, like you know, but it would be a major spoiler. Like, I can't even tell you like what it would be because it's, like I said, a huge spoiler. Anyway, next up is going to be the Blue Blood series by Melissa De La Cruz. These are more of like your traditional vampires of what we think in the sense of vampires and stuff. And I can't remember, oh yeah, it was set in New York City, and that's like the only, sadly, I really don't remember a lot about this series. It's not that it was bad, it's just, it didn't stick with me like some of these others have. Like, they literally imprinted themselves on me, which is funny. Twilight joke. Sorry, had to do it. Anyway, I really enjoy the series. This is another series I never finished because I think I kind of got away from reading vampire books at that time, and I think there was like one more book or two more books that were coming out or were already out, and I was like, eh. And then I, you know, teenager self moved on to other things and whatever. Next up I have The Vampire Diaries by LJ Smith. So I feel like everybody knows this is literally the polar opposite to the show. I think because at the time, I think it was literally the next year in 2009 when the show started coming out. I have literally been a loyal fan since. There was a period of time where I kind of fell behind, but I've literally been watching this show since it started, and it is like a show I will never get over. I have tried so many times to go back and restart it and just never make it through because I'm like, I don't want to relive that last season again. I'm a diehard Stefan fan, so if you've made it through the whole show, please message me, because I have not found anybody that I can talk to about the ending, and literally for years since this show has ended, I have not been able to express my like feelings towards it because nobody has made it through the entire show. So if you've finished it, please reach out to me so I can talk to somebody because I have been holding in these feelings the entire time and I'm literally going insane. And I guess Texas decided it started to rain, so sorry if you can hear the rain. But the last vampire book of that time period is going to be Vampire Kisses by Ellen Schreiber. So this is like tried and true, like if you don't count these vampire books, especially Twilight, like this is generally like how you would depict vampires. Like, this is the true form. Can't stand garlic, like they live in coffins, like the whole shebang. And this is the bind up of the 3 books. When I started the series, like for some reason, this is the only one that you could get, and then there are 9 books in this series. So this is the first 3, and then each one is individually published. It was so weird. I don't know why maybe because there wasn't enough people reading the series. Like, I never hear people talk about this when they talk about like their vampire books of like that time period. Nobody ever talks about this one, and it's really sad because this one was really good. I kind of remember some details, more so like the beginning of the series, but I really do not remember the rest of the series. I think I finished it I know I started the final book, but it would be really dumb of me because those books are really small. Like, I mean, this is a chunky book, but this is literally 3 books. It wasn't until I was in college, I don't think my freshman year, it may have been like the 2nd semester, that's when The Hunger Games, okay, let me get my copy. That's when The Hunger Games was getting adapted. I can't remember, honestly, I don't remember if I saw the movie and then read the books, or if I was able to read the books ahead of time, or at least read book 1 and then go watch it and then dive. I don't remember. Obviously, when these were getting adopted, I then dove into these. Didn't really pick up anything. Like one series that I completely forgot, which I'm pretty sure is buried. Yeah, I think they're like, you can't tell, but it's on this shelf. I forgot to include the Sookie Stuckhouse series by Charlaine Harris. That is the True Blood series, which was adapted into True Blood on HBO. I never finished that show either. Are you sensing a theme here? Like, I never finish things. It's bad. It's my toxic trait. I literally had 1 season left, so I made it through about 8 of those books. Those are really good. Again, I think I started those during my vampire years, and again, I kind of stopped, but I don't remember. So those were kind of like these are a lot more, obviously, they're more adult, obviously. So then after the Hunger Games, that's also the time period, around the same time, obviously we got to talk about 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. Duh, because also at this time, these were getting adopted, and I remember my mom read these. It's so weird. My mom is not really a reader. Like, she likes books, but she doesn't really read. Like, I never see her read anymore. But she was like, Brianna, you have to read these. Like, you would really like them. I'm like, really? BDSM? Like, dom, sub kind of stuff. Like, really? Okay. Literally became obsessed. I read them faster than she could read them. I was like, Mom, I need that book. She's like, but I'm still reading. I'm like, give it. I need it. Let's go. And again, just kind of fell off. Like, at that time, fan fiction to me was really big. So I was reading like Twilight fan fiction to kind of go back into that. Hunger Games was like all the rage. So I was reading fan fiction for that. And that's also, I think, the time that I found out that 50 Shades was actually like a Twilight, spin-off or whatever, or like a remake of it or whatever, like an alternate universe. And I was like, oh, well, then that's why I'm obsessed, like that kind of thinking. But then I kind of fell off the face of the earth with reading again. It wasn't until the summer of 2013 that I got back into the reading. So, kind of around still the same time frame for the most part, but I wasn't consistently reading. So that's like the biggest takeaway, that I wasn't consistently reading. It wasn't until I read The Host by Stephanie Meyer. And again, that's another adopted one. That is her alien romance series. I guess it's like a romance. It has romance elements to it, but it's not like the forefront of the entire plot. But that one is the Alien series. That's when I got into reading again. I literally have Stephanie Meyer to thank for the reason I'm a reader. Twilight and then The Host. Since The Host in 2013, mid 2013, I have not stopped reading since. So 3 books that I read within, did I read? Yeah, I read all 3 of these within that year, I think, if not literally the start of 2014. I think this may be the next one, possibly, or around. Obviously, these were out during the Twilight time. Like, I remember, I have vivid memories of going to Barnes & Noble and getting, the next Vampire Academy book or whatever. And I would see City of Bones, but I just never picked it up. I probably would have been obsessed if I would have picked them up, but I just, at that time, wasn't wanting more of like a fantasy take on it. Like, these have paranormal creatures or whatever, but I just never picked it up. So that's kind of one thing I hate about my Twilight eras, is there were so many good books at that time, but I've been dying to reread Mortal Instruments. This is like the OG that started the entire, it's still going today. Quite a lot to get through. There's 6 books, and then there's, I don't even know how many spinoffs. It's a lot. So someday I do want to go through the entire thing. I have only read book 1 of The Infernal Devices, which takes place in the 20s. So almost 100 years before this. And I got spoiled for the ending of Clockwork Princess. Literally the epilogue. So I know exactly what's going to happen. And literally after I finished book 1, I was like, and then I think I stumbled upon somebody's YouTube review, and they didn't put any spoiler warnings. And I got spoiled, and I've been bitter since. It's not that I know I'll still love it. I just know exactly how it's going to end, and I don't know if I'm ready for that heartbreak. Anyway, next up is going to be Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the OG cover. Pretty sure you can't find this anymore. Even at the time, this wasn't, you could have, I think I found it at a half price books. but they obviously have like the really pretty new editions. But I will never get rid of this one because I just love like the sparkly effect, and it's just really cool to own like the OG. But this is the dystopian series, so this is what really got me into dystopia. And because of like the Hunger Games, obviously that's what kickstarted it. But this is another one that got me obsessed with dystopian, and this is kind of what like pivoted my thinking for love triangles, because at first I was with the first hero of the story, and then we got Warner. That's when things changed for me, and that's when I kind of started to realize I kind of like the bad boys better. Yeah, that's some good stuff. And then we have like one of the best authors of all time, the Lux series by Jennifer R. Armentrout. The first book is Obsidian. This is an alien romance series, so it's no surprise that I'm obsessed with, oh, well, you can't see it. Well, you can kind of see the spines right there. Ice Planet Barbarians. Duh. I love this series. Someday I really want to reread these because they stood out to me so much. Like, I can't. I did forget a book because I'm not going to be the reader I am without mentioning this one, so you can't see it. Next up that I picked up, probably about 2015, is going to be Slammed by Colleen Hoover. This is technically where things started to change for me in terms of my reading taste. There's another book that I will never mention again because the author is not a nice person. So if you go to my Instagram account, I have it there. So you can go check it out, but I won't advertise it anymore. This is really what kind of started my love for it, especially Forbidden. This is a student-teacher relationship, and there's 3 books. It's beautiful. I love it. Out of all Colleen Hoover books, like, why does nobody talk about this trilogy? Like, excuse me? Yes. Honestly, I can't remember the timeline at this point. But next up would have been Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. Like, duh. This is a office romance. I think it was like enemies to lovers. Most of these books that I'm going to mention were extremely important in the time of life that I was in. I was in a really toxic, abusive relationship. Obviously, I'm okay. This was literally like almost 10 years ago now. So these are really important to me to like help heal and kind of understand my worth and everything. So I hold these books with so much love and just like admiration, I guess. So this is another one. Next up, I have like literally the cutest book ever to ever exist is Wait For You by Jennifer Armentrout. Are you sensing a theme? Like, Jennifer Armentrout is where to go. This is just such a cute college, new adult series. It's just so heartfelt and just so sweet. Like, literally, if I just think of like a super sweet book, it's this one. It just makes me so happy. I think I read this one before that one, I think. But I did start, I never finished, the Sea Breeze series by Abby Glines. First book is Breath. That's what. And this is a rock star romance. Is it second chance? Like, friends to lovers situation, I think. Honestly, it's been so long since I've read these. The second book is actually my favorite. Marcus is like her best friend and like one of my favorite characters. So it's actually the second book that's like my all-time favorite. But this was another one that was really important in my reading journey. Next up, I have literally my book Husband is Where I Belong by J. Daniels. I go hard for this book, and it's the reason I am obsessed. Not just a single dad, but single parent as a whole. Like, this is perfection in my eyes, to be truthfully honest. Like, I love this book so much. Also, just a quick side note, this is literally the OG cover, or one of the OG cover. You can't find this cover anymore, so if you're trying to find this specific cover, you won't find it. Second to last book is going to be what kickstarted my love for specifically dark romance. This is the book that I almost forgot to include, which... how? This is the Hades Hangman series by Tilly Cole. The first book is It Ain't Me, Babe. If you know me at all, you know my love for Tilly Cole. Like, I adore this woman to absolute pieces. This book is not for everybody. It is pretty dark in my opinion. It is probably one of the darker series I've ever read, and I've read some pretty dark books in my time as a reader. Please, if you've never heard of this series, which would honestly surprise me, but if you're new to reading, please look up content and trigger warnings because there's a lot. This book, this series is like 8 or 9 books long, and each book I feel has different triggers and content warnings, so I would definitely look those up if there's any kind of content or, you know, triggers that, you know, you just don't want to read about. Please do your research on this series, because I would not just blindly, you know, recommend it to just anybody to pick up, because it's dark, but it's so good. And then another recent development in my reading journey is I have found I actually really enjoy thrillers. Now, this book was way before I even got into them. I honestly got into them 2 years ago in 2021. So it's a new thing for me. I really have not read that many, but the ones that I've read are some pretty good books. So this is kind of what kickstarted it. When I read it, it was very different for me because I was reading pretty much exclusively romance, I think, at that point, or I was starting to read exclusively romance. So it really threw me through a loop. And this could be You by Carolyn Kepnes. I think I read this back in like 2017, maybe. It's been a long time, but this is what kind of kickstarted what would become my love for thrillers. And just being a dark romance, you know, reader, I feel like that really helped me kind of get into the genre. I knew I would like them. I just obviously have preferences in what I like to read about. I definitely enjoy psychological thrillers, like the isolated kind of settings. Domestic is kind of hit and miss with me. It just depends on like the situation of the book. Those are definitely hit and miss with me, but as a whole, I'm having a lot of fun. It's really nice for me as reading exclusively like romances and stuff. It's really good to read them every now and then to kind of like cleanse my palate and kind of just like restart and kind of, you know, kickstart another obsession of books, because that's who I am. I tend to fixate on specific genres and stuff. I am 100% a mood reader. Anyway, these are all of the books that have made a pretty significant impact in my reading journey. I have been reading almost exclusively so in August of this year, 2023, will be my 10-year anniversary for Instagram, which is when I got into the book world. Like, I can't even like, it blows my mind that I've been there that long. I've pretty much been consistently on that app. There's obviously days and stuff where I don't post, but I've been consistently on that app since then and have loved it ever since. So yeah, I have a lot of book recommendations to share with you guys. Yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you guys stick around. Like I said, I have really fun content ideas coming now that I'm starting to get more ideas, and now that I've gotten Disney content coming. I will say this really quick. I don't know what my next Disney video is going to be, because I don't have a trip planned this year. Sadly, it just wasn't in the cards this year, which is fine. It's okay. But I already have plans for next year for my 30th birthday, because next April, my birthday, well, after you guys see this, I turn 29 on Sunday, April 30th. So you guys will my birthday will already be passed. So I'll be 29 the next time you guys see me when I film a video. So yeah, that's a big deal. Anyway, I have a really fun birthday planned for next year for my 30th, because I thought it would be really fun to celebrate my 30th birthday at Disney, even though we're gonna plan for after my birthday. But anyway, I'm very excited about that. Like I said, I don't really have plans yet for more Disney videos just yet. I'm trying to figure out what I can do in the time being. So yeah, expect a lot more, obviously, bookish content, because that's going to be the majority of what I post. But let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with any of these books, or maybe you have a different book that kind of kick-started your love for reading. I always love to know what got people into reading. For many people, it's obviously Twilight, but I know that's always not the case. So I would love to know. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and until my next video, bye guys.